All right, ladies and gentlemen. So a lot of people have asked me to talk about the God of War Ragnarok situation that is happening right now on PlayStation with Steam, okay? And people are having an issue with this because it is in fact a single player game. To my knowledge, it does not have any multiplayer aspects. And yet, regardless of that, Sony trying to do what Sony always does, because, you know, they're always going to do a little bit here, a little bit there. They're going full on with this particular game because they know that this game is going to be a big seller, and they're trying to require the linking of a PlayStation account to your Steam account in order to play the single player game.
That doesn't make sense.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, when the entire Helldivers 2 situation happened, I was one of the first ones to tell you that there is no way in hell Sony was going to sit down and not go after your data. The fact that they lost the battle in Helldivers 2 and was denied that sweet data for hundreds of thousands of accounts, there was no way they were going to take that lightly. They were not going to take that L publicly for a long period of time, and they were going to come for your data at some point. And they knew that they're going to use God of War Ragnarok, which again, a highly sought after game on PC. They were going to use this game that they knew was going to sell like hotcakes and require the PSN linking in order to get your data. So let's get into this article, guys, from that Park Place. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So again, I really think like this is the game that they've decided they're going to die on that hill. They're going to make sure that they do anything and everything to ensure people have to link their accounts in order to play this game that is highly sought after. And I feel bad for the 170 countries that can't even access this game because Sony's too busy trying to steal data from other countries. You know what I mean? Like, it's just really fucked up. But let's get into it. Sony Interactive Entertainment Global Communications Director, what a long name, Aram Jabari, announced that the Sweet Baby Inc. influenced God of War Ragnarok port for PC will require a PlayStation Network account in order to play the game. After announcing the game's release date on September 19th of 2024, as part of Sony's most recent State of Play video, Jabari shared more details in a blog post. Hidden at the very end of the blog post with an asterisk, Jabari wrote, "Account for PlayStation Network is, in fact, required." And the fact that they're trying to hide it again, right? They're trying to hide it again at the very end of this actual post just goes to show that they know that people are going to be highly upset about this. They know that people are not going to want to do it. And yet, guess what? They're still doing it anyway because they want your data. Just think about how valuable your data is that they're willing to lose sales, right? They're willing to not sell the game in 170 countries. They're willing to do everything under the sun just to force you to link your Steam to PlayStation Network so they can get your data. That is how important your data is. That is how much money it's worth, your data, that they're willing to do all that just to get it. Then it says, as Sony received significant pushback for attempting to require gamers to link their PlayStation Network accounts to their Steam accounts in order to play Helldivers 2. In the middle of the night on May 3rd, Sony announced that players will have to link their Steam accounts to a PlayStation Network account in order to play. Now, we already know the entire drama around Helldivers 2. I don't have to rehash it. Obviously, gamers ended up winning that particular debacle. But at the end of the day, they still didn't do this for Ghost of Tsushima, which is very interesting. Let's talk about that. Following the backlash to Helldivers 2, Sony appeared to offer a compromise with the PC release of Ghost of Tsushima. Developer Sucker Punch Productions announced that the game would require a PlayStation Network in order to play the game's multiplayer mode and get access to its PlayStation overlay. The company responded to a user on X, just so you're aware, a PSN account is required for Legends Online multiplayer mode and to use PlayStation overlay. It is not required to play the single player game, okay? So Ghost of Tsushima was doing it the right way, in my opinion, right? They were doing it in the sense that it's predominantly a single player game. Not many people are going to be playing the online version of that game. Let's be real. I mean, a lot of people play the single player. Now that you have God of War Ragnarok that is only single player, Sony is showing their true colors, and they're going to require a PSN linking even for the single player because they know that God of War, by and large, is a much more popular IP than Ghost of Tsushima, and they know that they're going to have a lot more sales. They're going to have a lot more opportunity to take people's data, and they're going to swing for it at this point. They've already waited long enough. This is like eons for them. You know, a couple months is eons for them. They want that data, and they're going to do anything they can to get it. The game has already a tough sled to hoe, as well as given it's likely to be listed on Sweet Baby Ink Detective Steam Curator list once it arrives on Steam, which the list is almost at 400,000 followers. Currently, God of War Ragnarok has 3,663 followers, and it's ranked 401 in wishlist, and it's the 47th ranked top seller on Steam, according to SteamDB. So, whether or not this game is actually successful, time will tell. I unfortunately do believe that a lot of people are probably going to be willing to forego this nonsense of the PSN linking just to play this game because they desperately want to play God of War Ragnarok on PC. Just like when God of War, the original one, came out on PC, everybody freaked out and bought it up and played it. So now, unfortunately, Sony knows that. And I think that gamers overall, in terms of God of War, are probably not going to be, I don't know. I just don't think they're going to fight as hard, let's just say, in comparison to Helldivers 2, because with Helldivers 2, people were already invested, right? People had spent 3 fucking months playing the game, enjoying the game, and investing their time and their energy into it and hanging out with their friends and having a grand old time. Now Sony came in 3 months later and tried to take it all away from them with a requirement, and that's why people got immensely upset, right? That's a totally different scenario. But with this, people are not necessarily linked to this game because they haven't actually spent time or invested anything into this game yet, you know? So the fact that it's coming out now and requiring it before you even get invested just goes to show, like I said earlier in the video, they want your data. These companies desperately want your data. You know how much it's worth to them? You know what they utilize that data for? They're going to be able to do so much more with that data than they would with any extra sales that this game can provide. So at the end of the day, whether or not, this game, God of War Ragnarok, ends up being successful or not would ultimately determine on the resolve of gamers. Are people going to give in and link their PlayStation Network account? I know as hell I'm not. I'd rather just play the game on PS5 with a totally separate account. I don't have to link them. I could just get a PS5 and play. But not everybody's in that position, unfortunately. Some people only have a PC. Some people only have a PS5. So now it seems like they're unfortunately going to make those people make a choice. And I think that the choice is going to be made by a majority of players to play the game. That's just me being honest, unfortunately. I just don't see people fighting the good fight with this particular game like they did with Helldivers. But hopefully I am wrong, and I would like to see people stick it to Sony yet again, but I just don't think this is the game that's going to happen with. But we'll find out from the reviews, honestly, because if it ends up getting review bombed like Helldivers 2 did, that might end up making a sway with Sony, but I just don't think that they have the same level of investment themselves like the gamers did with Helldivers 2. Sony was also invested. Sony was invested the amount of players that were concurrently playing, how good it made them look, how much money they were making from it, and it's a live service game, so they wanted to make sure they maintained the player base. But with this, it's a single player game. Once people play it, that's it, they're done. Unless they want to go back to it in the future, there's no monetization. There's nothing for them to sell through a live service, aspect. So for them, they're willing to take the risk. They're willing to do it as long as they get your data. So we'll see what ends up happening with Sony at the end of the day, but nobody should be shocked because I've been saying this was going to happen for a while, and now guess what? It's happening, and this will probably be the requirement now for every game that comes out afterwards. They did a middle ground with Ghost of Tsushima, and now they're going full on with God of War Ragnarok. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.